Hello everyone, today in this video I am going to deal with the fourth chapter of Moments of class 9. The title of the chapter is In the Kingdom of Fools. This story is taken from the folktale of Ramanujan's Folktale of India. This story, as the title suggests, is about a kingdom which is inhabited by fools. So let's see how that kingdom is being run by that fool. In the kingdom of fools, both the king and the minister were idiots. They did not want to run things like other kings. So they decided to change night into day and day into night. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night till they are filled and run their business only after dark and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. The people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. One day a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around the town till evening, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. So the author says that in the kingdom of fools, the king and the minister both were idiots. So they decided to do the things differently. They thought to do something different from other kings, and therefore what they decided, they changed night into day and day into night. And a very strict rule was passed that if anyone would be found disobeying his order, he will be punished to death. And after that, what was done? Night was converted into day and day was converted into night. It means the people of that kingdom will have to sleep during daytime and they will have to carry out their profession and business at night. Very soon, not only human beings, not only people of that kingdom, even the animals became trained in the same manner and they started following that rules and regulation. And the king and the minister, they were very happy to see the success of their project. So one day what happened? A guru and a disciple arrived in that city. They came in that city and it was broad daylight, it was daytime. But to their surprise, they did not find anyone throughout the town. They moved each and every street of the town, but they could not see anyone on the street. So they were totally surprised to see that, to experience that. So while they were wandering, it was now evening. So as soon as the evening came, it was evening, every man of the town suddenly woke up and they started going to their profession, to their work. So they were totally surprised to see this. Now let's see what happened then. The two men were hungry. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same, a single dodo. Whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a dodo. The guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food they wanted for a rupee. So now, the guru and his disciple, they have wandered throughout the day and therefore now they were feeling hungry. So as soon as the shops were open at evening, they went to buy something to eat, some eatables. So when they went on the shop to buy some eatables, they were surprised to see that everything, whatever it was available on the shop, whatever it may be, irrespective of the quantity and the quality and the things, everything cost same. And that was a dodo. Dodo was the currency of that kingdom. So they were totally surprised to see that, and even they become very happy and they thought that they could buy everything, a lot of food at 1 rupees only. When they had cooked and eaten, the Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it would not be a good idea for them to stay there. This is no place for us. Let's go, he said to his disciple. But disciple did not want to leave the place. Everything was cheap here. All he wanted was good food, cheap food. The Guru said, they are all fools. They won't last very long. You can't tell what they will do to you next. So beforehand, when they went to the shop to buy food, at that time they were very happy as everything was very cheap available there and everything cost same, that is a single dodo. But once they had cooked the food and they had eaten, after that the Guruji realized that the kingdom was occupied by fools. The people of that kingdom was fools, and he said to his disciple that it's not good to stay in that kingdom for a long time because we can't predict what is going to be next, what decision they are going to take next. So anything can happen over there at any moment, at any time, and therefore he said to his disciple that it's not good to stay here any longer, so better to leave this place as early as possible. So but his disciple, he was greedy, he was a great foodie, he wanted only good food and that too at a cheap rate, and it was available there in that town and therefore in that kingdom, and therefore he decided to live there in that kingdom only. But the disciple would not listen to the Guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay. The Guru finally gave up and said, do what you want, I am going, and left. The disciple stayed on, ate his fill every day, bananas and ghee and rice and wheat, and grew fat like a street side sacred bull. One bright day a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked it, and as he was carrying out his loot, the wall of the old house collapsed on his head and killed him on the spot. His brother ran to the king and complained, Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. The merchant is to blame. He should have built a good, strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice. The king said, Justice will be done, don't worry, and at once summoned the owner of the house. So what happened? The Guruji left that kingdom. He tried to convince his disciple to accompany him to leave that kingdom, but he denied. He said that he is happy there in that kingdom only and he will not go anywhere. So he remained in that kingdom only, and as everything was available at a cheap rate and he was great foodie, he enjoyed the cheap food which was available there in that kingdom, and he ate a lot, and therefore very soon he became like a bull. It means he grew very fat. After that, what happened? An accident occurred in that kingdom one day. So during a bright day, a thief was there. He made a hole into the wall of a merchant's house and he burrowed into the house of that merchant in order to rob that house, in order to rob merchant house. So he went into the house, he looted, he robbed, he thieved, and while he was coming out of that house through the same hole which he has made in the old wall, the wall collapsed on his head and he died on the spot. Then what happened? His brother, the brother of that thief, he went to king in order to complain against the merchant, in order to complain that that merchant has built a weak wall, and his brother, he was carrying out his ancient trade, and while doing so, that wall fell upon him and he died on the spot. So he went to the king asking for justice and for compensation. So the king, after hearing all about the incident, he said that there's nothing to worry, just you calm down, I will give you the justice. So here you can see the king is listening to a thief brother, and he has referred the act of thieving as an ancient trade which is regarded as a crime in any kingdom. So from this you can imagine what sort of king he was and what sort of kingdom it was. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him, "What's your name?" "Such and such, your highness." "Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house?" "Yes, my lord. He broke in and the wall was weak, it fell on him." The accused pleads guilty. "Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. We have to punish you." "Lord," said the helpless merchant, "I did not put up the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. He did not build it right. You should punish him." "Who is that?" "My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man. He lives nearby." The king sent out messenger to bring the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him, tied hand and foot. So what happened? The merchant was called, and the king questioned him that were he there at home when that wall fell upon the head of thief and he died on the spot. He said that, "Yes, sir. Yes, highness. Yes, my lord. I was there." He accepted that yes, his wall fell upon the head of that thief and he died. But he said that, "I am not to be blamed for this, sir, because the wall was not made by me. It was made during my father's time, and it was built by a bricklayer who lives nearby, and he has not built the wall properly, and as a result it has fallen, and hence that thief has died." So now the king said that yes, really, he saw the seriousness of the matter and he realized that it's the fault of that bricklayer, and therefore now that bricklayer was summoned. He sent his messenger to bring that bricklayer in the court. "You there, did you build this man's wall in his father's time?" "Yes, my lord, I did." "What kind of wall is this that you built?" "It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him. We have to punish you by death." Before the king would order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded, "Please listen to me before you give your order. It's true I built this wall and it was no good, but that was because my mind was not on it. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklet jingling, and I could not keep my eyes or my mind on the wall I was building. You must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives." So now that bricklayer was called, king confirmed from him that whether he has built that man's wall in his father's time. He confirmed that yes, he has built it. And after that, the king said that you have murdered a man because you have not built the wall properly, and as a result the thief has died. So now he says that bricklayer, he said that, "My lord, it's not my fault. Before you announce any sort of punishment for me, please listen what I say," he requested to the king. Then he was given permission to narrate his story, and he said that he remembered that the day on which he was building that wall, on the same very day a dancing girl she was crossing the street jingling her anklet, and she came up and down that street. She walked up and down that street so many times, and therefore he was attracted toward that girl. He was distracted by that girl, by the jingling sound of her anklet, and that's why he said that he was not able to concentrate on his business, on his work, and as a result that wall was built weak. So he says that I am not to be blamed, that girl is to be blamed. that dancing girl is to be blamed, and he says that I know where she lives, she should be summoned, not I. You are right, the case depends. We must look into it. It is not easy to judge such complicated cases. Let's get the dancer wherever she is. The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him? Yes, my lord, I remember it very well. So you did walk up and down with your anklet jingling. You were young and you distracted him, so he built a bad wall. So now that dancing girl was summoned, and again the king confirmed it from that dancing girl that whether she was coming up and down the street that day many years ago when this bricklayer was laying that bricks when he was building that wall. She said that yes sir, yes my lord, I remember I walked up and down that street the day when this man was building that wall. Then he said that because of that this wall, because of your coming up and down the street time and again, this man was not able to concentrate on his work, and as a result his mind and his heart was not there on his work because you distracted him, and therefore as a result the wall which he was building was built weak, and now that wall has fallen upon a thief, and hence you are to be blamed for that weak wall, for the murder of the thief, and you are a murderer. It has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. You have killed an innocent man. You will have to be punished. She thought for a minute and said, my lord, wait. I know why I was walking up and down the street. I had given some gold to goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses, said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. That was when this bricklayer saw me. It's not my fault, my lord. It's the damned goldsmith's fault. Poor things. She is absolutely right, thought the king, weighing the evidence. We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. So now that dancing girl, she narrated her own story, and she said that, my lord, it's true that I went up and down that street so many times that day, but I am not to be blamed for it. I remember that why I came up and down that street that day. And she said that she had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for her, and that goldsmith, he made different promises to her that he will give her now, then he said that he will give it then, and therefore he called her so many times that day, and as a result she has to visit the house of that goldsmith dozen of times that day, and therefore she had to walk up and down that street many times, and that was the time when this bricklayer saw her, and due to which the wall was built weak. So now the king says that yes, you are right, and now after seeing all the evidences, he says that now the real culprit has been caught lastly. So now he gave an order to bring that goldsmith to the court at once. The king's bailiffs searched for goldsmith, who was hiding in the corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. My lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. It's true, I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuse because I could not finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's order. They had a wedding coming and they could not wait. You know how impatient rich men are. Who is this rich man who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry? Made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which had made a mess of his wall, which has fallen on an innocent man and killed him. Can you name him? So now now the goldsmith, he was hiding in his shop. When he heard that he is to be summoned, he has been summoned by the king. He was hiding in his shop, and then Bailiff, who is Bailiff? Bailiff is a law officer who makes sure that the decision of a court are obeyed. So the Bailiff found him in his shop, hiding there in one of the corner, and then he was brought to the king's court, and there he was asked, and he confirmed that yes, he made that girl walk up and down the street several times that day, and then he said that he is not to be blamed for that, but the merchant was to be blamed for that. He said that he has received an order of a merchant who had wedding in his house, and therefore he had to finish his work first because he was quite impatient, and therefore he said that I was not able to finish the work of this girl, and as a result I gave her so many times, I called her so many times that day, and therefore she had to come dozen of times to my home that day. So for this I am not to be blamed, but that merchant is to be blamed. So the king, on hearing this, he said that who is that merchant? That merchant should be called at once. The goldsmith named the merchant. He was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king, back to the merchant when he was rudely summoned back to the court. He arrived crying, "It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead, I am innocent." So that goldsmith named that merchant name only, he gave the name of that merchant only whose wall has fallen upon thief. And then the king said that now justice has come. Finally the justice is done. He said that finally the culprit has been found, because it has come a full circle. It has started from that merchant and it has come again back to the merchant. It shows that he is the main culprit. So he was called in the court, and when he came, he pleaded. He said that, "My lord, I was not the one who had ordered that jewelry, but it was my father, and he is dead now. I am innocent. I have not given order for the jewelry." But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. It's true your father is true murderer. He is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die. So what happened now? The merchant came. He pleaded that, "Sir, my lord, I am not to be blamed. That jewelry was ordered by my father, not by me, and therefore I am not to be blamed for this." But the king said, he thought decisively, and he consulted his minister. He thought on that manner, and then he said that you are the real murderer. Why you are a murderer? Because your father has given order of that jewelry, and if you have received all the wealth of your father, then who is to receive his sins? Who will receive his crime? Who will receive the crime which he has committed? And therefore you will receive that crime also, as you have inherited all the properties of your father, of your criminal father, and therefore you are supposed to receive his crime also, his punishment also. And therefore he said that you must die. And then he added that for the first time when he saw him, at that very moment only he realized that he was the main culprit in that case. And he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. As servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the ministers that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. So now what happened? The execution of merchant was ordered. The order was passed that the king will be executed, and therefore he ordered, the king gave an order that merchant will be executed, and therefore a new stake was sharpened. But when the stake was sharpened, the minister realized that that merchant was too thin to be properly executed on the stake. So the stake which was made, it would not fit that merchant, and therefore the minister said to the king that he is too thin, sir, he will not fit in that stake, and therefore it made the king worried about that now how he is to be punished, how that justice will be established. What shall we do? He said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stick. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stick, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas, rice, and wheat and ghee. So now a decision was made that definitely someone need to be punished, and then only justice will be given to that person. And therefore the king gave an order that a person who will fit in that stake should be found, should be searched, should be looked for in the kingdom. And as per the order of the king, his people were looking for a man who should be fat enough to fit in that stake. Then suddenly their eyes fell upon the disciple of that Guruji who lived in that, who stayed in that kingdom, and in the meanwhile he had ate a lot as the food was available at a very cheap rate, and therefore as a result he has fattened a lot, he has become very fat. What I have done wrong, I am innocent, I am sannyasi, he cried. That may be true, but it's the royal decree that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake, they said, and carried him to the place of execution. He remembered his wise Guru's word, this is a city of fools, you don't know what they will do next. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his Guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The Guru saw everything in a vision. He had magic power, he could see far, and he could see the future as he could see the present and past. He arrived at once to save his disciple who had got himself into such a scrape through love of food. So now that man, that disciple, he pleaded to the soldiers and he said that I am innocent, I have not committed any crime, I am sannyasi. Then he said that no, we can't help you out from this because it's a order of royalty, it's an order of king, and therefore they will have to take him to the place of execution. So at that time he got reminded of the words of his Guruji. He realized his words were ringing in his ears. So while he was standing at the place of execution to be executed at that time, he recalled his Guruji, he prayed to his Guruji to save him. And the Guru, he had some magical power. In his vision, he could see everything. He could see the present, past, or future. He could even see the far object, and therefore, in his vision, he saw about his disciple that he is in difficulty. And therefore, he arrived at once to save his disciple who was in the scrap through the love of his food. So, who was in difficulty only because of his love for food. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Then he went to the king and addressed him, O wisest of kings, who is greater, the guru or the disciple? Of course the guru. No doubt about it. Why do you ask? Then put me to the stake first, put my disciple to death after me. So now the Guruji arrived. First of all, he scolded his disciple for the mistake which he has committed, for disobeying him, and then he said something in the ear of his disciple. And after that he addressed the king. He said to the king that, O wisest king, who is greater, the guru or the disciple? The king replied that of course, no doubt, guru is greater than a disciple. Then he said that put me at a stake first. I should be hanged first and put my disciple to death after me. But I should be put at a stake first. Now see what was this drama. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor, me first. You brought me here first, put me to death first, not him. The guru and the disciple now got into fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the guru, why do you want to die? We choose him because we needed a fat man for a stake. You should not ask me such questions. Put me to death first, replied the guru. Why? There's some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand. So then, when the Guruji said that he should be executed, and after that his disciple should be executed, when he said this, the disciple, he understand everything, and even he started shouting that no, I was brought here first and therefore I should be executed first. So the guru and the disciple started fighting with each other that I should be executed first, but the guru said no, I should be executed first. So this made the king confused and he grew puzzled. He asked the guru that why do you want to die? I have brought this man because he is a fat person and we was looking for a fat man to fit that stake, and therefore I have brought him. Then he said that you should explain me that what is the reason that you want to die, why you want to die. Please explain me the reason behind that. Will you promise me to put me to death if I tell you? Asked the guru. The king gave him his solemn word. The guru took him aside out of the servant's earshot and whispered to him, do you know why we want to die right now? The two of us, we have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. That stake is the stake of God of justice. It's new and it has never had a criminal on it. Whoever dies on it first will be reborn as king of this country, and whoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. We are sick of our ascetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. Now keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember. So when the king forced him to explain that why he wanted to die, gave him to explain him that why they were fighting to die first, then the guru said to the king that if I will give you the reason, if I will explain you the reason, then you will have to first give me promise that after hearing all those things, after hearing the reason, you will put me to death first. Then the king promised that definitely I will put you to death if you will explain me the reason behind that. Then he took him aside and then he said that whosoever will die first will be reborn as the king of this country, and whoever will be the next will be the future minister of this country. So now he says that we are fed up, the guru and the disciple, he said about themselves that we are fed up with this life of a hermit, of an ascetic life, and therefore we want to enjoy the pleasure of being a king and a minister in our next birth, and therefore we want to die today on this stake. So let's see what happened then. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He did not want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time, so he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves, and we will be reborn as king and minister again. Holy men do not tell lies, he said, and minister agreed. So what happened? The king started thinking about it. He pondered about it, that what to do, and therefore what he did, he postponed the execution. He said that the guru and the disciple who were to be hanged, whoever will be executed tomorrow. So during night he consulted his minister and said him everything, and they come to the conclusion that they should not let their kingdom in the hand of someone else. And they said that the holy man never tell a lie, and therefore whatever he is saying, it must be true. So he told the executioner, we will send the criminal tonight. When the first man comes to you, put him to death first, then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders, don't make any mistake. So what they did, they decided that they should execute themselves. It means the king and the minister, they said that we should not let anyone take our kingdom, and therefore we should execute ourselves only. So they made the plan and they went to the executioner, and the king said to the executioner that tonight only I will send 2 men to criminals, and whoever will come first will be executed first, and whoever will come second will be executed after that. And he said that this is my order, don't make any mistake. Whatever order is being given to you, you will have to follow it. So the 2 person will come tonight, and he is to be executed, that person is to be executed. That night the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the guru and the disciple, disguised themselves as 2, and as arranged beforehand with loyal servants, were taken to the stake and promptly executed. When the bodies were taken out to be thrown to the crows and vultures, the people panicked. They saw before them the dead bodies of king and the minister. The city was in confusion. So what happened? As the king and the minister has made their plan, so as per their plan, what they did, they went inside the jail, they went into the jail in the prison, and they let the king, they let the guru as well as the minister, as the disciple free. They let them go. The king let the guru and the disciple free, and after that they disguised himself. They took the look of guru as well as disciple, and now they went to the executioner one by one, and both of them, the king and the minister, was executed. So in the morning, when their body was taken to be thrown for vulture and crow, at that time the people were surprised to see that the dead body was the body of their king as well as their ministers. So the whole city was in confusion. They were not able to understand that what has happened and how it has happened. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Some people suddenly thought of Guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave town unnoticed. We people need a king and a minister, said someone. Others agreed. They begged the Guru and disciple to be their king and their minister. It did not take many arguments to persuade the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the Guru. They finally agreed to rule the kingdom of fools, king and silly minister on the condition that they could change all old laws. So now the whole city was in confusion. The king and the minister has died, and at the same time they were thinking that what will the future of that kingdom and who will be the next king and minister. So at that time only it came to someone's mind that the Guru and the disciple will be fit for king and minister. So they went to Guru and disciple who were preparing to leave that kingdom. So they caught them and they pleaded to Guruji to be their king and to the disciple to be the minister. So as the disciple was already, he was a greedy person and therefore he agreed very soon, but it was quite difficult to persuade Guruji. It took some time, but very soon even he agreed. But he agreed on a condition that he will be the king, he will change all old laws. So the people of that kingdom agreed to the condition of Guruji, and they decided to make him a king and the disciple as the minister. From then on, night would again be night and day would again be day, and you could get nothing for a judo. It became like any other place. So as soon as the Guru and the disciple became the king and the minister of that kingdom, as per their condition, what they did, they first of all changed every rules and regulation, and first of all the first changes which they brought was that night was once again a night and day again became day, and now the cost, the price of each and every commodities was changed, as it was a single dodo earlier. So now everything was changed, and now this kingdom again, once again it became a kingdom like a kingdom of other kings. So this is all about this story. Thank you.